Today I'm going to finish up this series I've been doing on the Gospel According to Facebook, and I just wanted to share. How many guys have Facebook? Read Facebook, get on Facebook, do anything with Facebook? Two or three. The reason I started this series is because I was noticing that there's a lot of preaching going on Facebook, and what I started seeing was that from my perspective, and considering that I have a lot of friends that just don't really buy into the Christian idea, that what was being preached on Facebook didn't seem to be the gospel of Jesus. It seems to be a whole different kind of gospel. And I have a million different messages that I've seen, heard, preached on Facebook, and so today I need to bring them in, and hopefully we can start to make some sense out of what the gospel of Jesus looks like versus the gospel that's being preached on Facebook. One of the things I've seen on Facebook is that, and maybe you've noticed this, that Christianity seems to be on Facebook as portrayed as a political party, right? Does anybody notice that? It's extremely political, and everybody knows that if you're a Christian in the South, then you're Republican, you're against everything. You know, I mean, we know how it goes, right? So it's very political, and so everything is about America's going to hell. God's wrath is coming down on America. Pray for our politicians, or impeach our leaders, or all of these things. And those are personal opinions, but let me be honest with you. Those things, as they're tied to Christianity, are not related. Okay. You may tell you the only tie between our government and Jesus is that God establishes all authority. Period. So, I mean, like it or don't like it, God establishes all authority. No one is set up as a king or ruler of a nation without God. Okay? This is clear. I mean, this is the way the Bible lays it out. So Christianity is not a political party. Okay? And the Gospel According to Facebook says that Christianity is a political party, and it's not. The other things I'm getting off of Facebook, the gospel of Facebook, is that Christianity is a religion. And I need to clear that up because Christianity is not a religion. It's not a religion by any means, by any stretch is it a religion. But on Facebook, anybody ever feel like Christians are trying to sell Jesus on Facebook? Like there should be Jesus advertisements down the side because we're trying to sell Jesus on Facebook, right? So we compare him to the other products out there, right? Have you noticed this? Like, and this goes back to politics too, but to be Christian, you have to sell Christianity, which means that Christianity has to have and has to be better than Islam, right? Or than being Buddhist, or than all these other religions. So we have to make our points on why Christianity is better. Right? Right. Okay. I noticed something about Jesus is he never really tried to sell Christianity. Like he wasn't, okay, let's break it down. Here's your benefits package. Okay, if you're a Christian, you get to have this, and this, and this, and this, and if you're not, then you get to have this, 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 and this. So this is better than that. The problem is that the way we're selling Christianity, then turning around and throwing our religious rules on it, makes it a hard sell, right? You know what I'm saying? Okay, you don't get to drink, smoke, have sex, right? All these, but it's better. To which everybody else in the world's going, what? What is wrong with you? So the sales pitch. And because our sales pitch really isn't strong, I mean, let's face it, we don't have the best religious things to offer, right? Like 7 virgins. You know what I mean? We don't have all of these great things to offer, so that doesn't work. So our religion then turns to the only card we got left. Just scare the hell out of them. That's it. So if you don't believe like us, you're going to hell. Here's the funny thing that I found about religious Christianity on Facebook is that I see these preachers, teachers, and book writers writing long stories and blogs and things about other Christians. So we don't even know from each other who's going to hell. Right? And if you're from Church of Christ, everybody's going to hell. So it's hard to sell, because then you have to come up with the best pitch to be a Baptist, a Methodist, a Church of Christ, a Catholic, whatever, right? So, man, we've got all this confusion on Facebook because we're trying to sell our flavor of Christianity. And the big benefit of Christianity, of course, is what? Well, yeah, when you die, you get to go to heaven forever. And here's the way it's sold on Facebook. When you go to heaven forever, you completely lose free will. You're no longer you. All you're going to do is sit around on a cloud with a harp in a white dress and sing. Which, to other people, would be hell. Right? I saw this post the other day that said that you won't know because you're going to be so consumed with worshiping that you won't know that your other friends went to hell. I was like, well, that's going to be all right for the first hour or 2 or 3 or 5 or 50. But a billion, trillion years? Wow. So we're selling that, and we've invited all these people to come and do it, because if you don't, the alternative is you're going to be in a burning, bottomless pit of darkness. To which I ask, how can it be burning and dark? Because when I light a fire, I can see. So I don't know how that works. I just don't know. But what I found about Christians is it takes a Christian to paint the worst picture of hell possible. We like hell to be like this unimaginable, unbelievably bad thing. One time I told this Christian friend, youth pastor friend of mine, I said, you know, what if everybody's wrong about hell? And what if real hell literally is just not being able to be in the presence of God? He was like, no, it's worse than that. It's utter darkness, loneliness, bottomless pit, flames, torture, pain, gnashing. I was like, so you don't consider just God to be so awesome, not being in His presence would be hell? I mean, think about that. We're saying not being in the presence of God is not bad enough. Well, evidently, if that's not bad enough, then He's not good enough. Right? See, I believe that God is life, and to be outside of His presence is death. And there's no meaning, no purpose, no point to anything. Everything is useless outside of the presence of God. And to be in that state and to be outside the presence of God is hell. But I don't want to start a big debate on heaven and hell and what it is and where it is and how it works, because I'll be honest with you, I don't know. And if you were real honest, you don't either. Right? So how can you use something that you don't know anything about to threaten people? And really all you're trying to do is threaten them to change what they believe to what you believe, because you'll be ahead of them in the hierarchy of Christianity. And you will be the soul winner. And you get another notch on your wall, right? Yeah, you got seniority. That's awesome. How long have you been a Christian? 1.5 years. 15. You'll get there someday. I'm like, we'll pray for you. Here's what I found. People who've been a Christian a year know God a whole lot better than most people who've been Christians a lot longer. Because, you're still got that fire burning. So, anyway, I think the goal behind religion and behind Christianity as a religion and politics and fear, and I think the goal behind all of it is all manipulation and control. It's me being better than you. It's me being able to control you. I love being able to tell you what you can't do. And you love telling your friends what they can't do. Because what they can't do and what you've conquered makes you feel better. You're just better than they are. That's all there is to it. And we like to do this. And I think the whole religious structure is the idea behind all of these manipulations. And it's all about power. And honestly, man, a lot of it is about money. It really is. It's a lot about money too. Especially Christianity has a, and I'm talking about the religious Christianity, there is a false sense of humility about money. We don't need anything. God will provide all of our needs. But send us your gift and we can stay on the air. Right? I thought God was providing all your needs. Other religions in the world just flat out straight up, we want your money. You're going to come here, you're going to pay your dues. So we got them on that, right? We win, and we win the money argument. So we got all these things going on, and then here's this other one. And you may have seen this a lot on Facebook. Again, it's religion, fear, and control. And I'm not going to get in this discussion because you want me to, and I'm not going to do it. End times. Okay. This is all I want to say about end times. There is none of you that's not within the last 100 years. Okay? That's what I want to say about end times. Here's the other thing I want to say about end times. I'm just going to point this out. Is that every major cult that's ever developed in the world that ended up killing off all of its people were all passionately driven and founded on end times. So beware. Charles Manson, huge end timer, right? All he did was to bring about the end of the world. David Koresh, end time doctrine was what David Koresh was built on. Jim Jones, end timers, okay? So there's this fear in this thing, and people love to talk about end times. Here's the thing. I don't know, and you don't know, okay? So that's enough about end times. But we use it and manipulate people through the fear and the gospel of end times on the gospel of according to Facebook. And it's all about control and getting people to act fast. Our end time card, that's all it is, right? It's the commercial that is, if you act in the next 30 seconds. Because here's the fear that if you don't act now, somebody else could win you to Jesus, and I'll miss an opportunity. I need you. High pressure sales, right? Anybody ever experienced high pressure sales of Christianity? Rough. All right. So this is the gospel according to Facebook. But what I've found is that the gospel according to Jesus really wasn't like that at all. It's really not that. I need to tell you all of that to tell you this. That 11 years ago this morning, I stood in front of the school and waited, hoping that somebody would come to Driven Life Church. We had our very first service on August 11th. It was all right. It was terrifying. I honestly didn't think anyone would show up. Tim Turner came driving up, which was nice. He saw the sign by the road. Tim had a suit on, remember? Suit and tie. I thought, well, this is the last time we'll see him. The girls, and if you know Tim's girls, man, they were in dresses, which was huge. I mean, I don't know how that happened. You must have tied them up, made them or something. I don't know. But yeah, we had church. Now here's the thing I want you to know today, man, is that I grew up going to church, but I didn't connect with God. I joined Christianity as a religion. I was deathly afraid of the rapture. Y'all heard of the rapture? It's this idea that everybody gets zapped out. And I was deathly afraid that was going to happen to me. Not to me, maybe. I don't know how you look at that either way. I was terrified of the rapture. I was terrified of hell because 9 out of 10 messages in the church I was growing up in were about hell. And so I was terrified of hell. I heard about Jesus, and I believed Jesus was the ticket to not have to go to hell. And I firmly embraced that God sent Jesus so I wouldn't have to go to hell, which I appreciate. So I did everything that religion said I had to do. And I even tried to be good. But what I found was it didn't work for me. And I don't know if anybody else has experienced this. Anybody ever said the prayer and use Jesus so you didn't have to go to hell, but found out it didn't really work for you? And you're starting to doubt what this preacher guy's even talking about, because he's talking about it like it works. And I know within me it didn't really work. But I did have a little peace at night sleeping, knowing that if we busted out the ceiling, I was going to bust out with everybody because I'd done everything they said to do. Later in my life, man, after destroying myself in many ways, I came to embrace that there was a real God and that He really loved me. And when I embraced that God was real and that He loved me enough that He would hold me and comfort me and lift me up out of the pit of hell that I had turned my life into, and resurrect me and transform me and change me into a completely new person. I was reborn. I was new. And when that happened to me, man, I was like, why don't anybody talk about this? Why is this not what this whole thing is about? Why is it all about rules, and why is it all about theology, and why is it all about end times, and why is it all about politics, and why is it all about not being gay or not having sex or not doing this or not doing it? Why is it all about that? Because what I found is good enough. It's good enough on its own. So as I began to do what it is you do when you're really resurrected and transformed, and that's seek the presence of God and pursue the presence of God, the only place I knew to do that was to go to church. So I would go to church and I would try to seek and pursue the presence of God. I'd try to learn and grow and become, and I wanted to know everything about everything, man. And I was so driven and so passionate, and I wore everybody out around me. Just drove everybody crazy, because all I talked about, all I breathed is what I wanted. It's the discussions I had, and I thought you could get that at church, but what I found was that the church isn't really that interested in the presence of God as much as the appearance of the presence of God. That the church was very interested in how I acted because of their reputation, not because of anything really anything about God or me, to be honest. And so I thought, well, at least I can do what I can do. So I started working in the church, man, and I started doing everything I could do. But I continued to have these discussions with people. And let me tell you, any guys ever been in a church? A real church? Okay, here's the thing about the real church is you're not supposed to ask certain questions. Because you're the devil if you ask certain questions. Like, where does the Bible talk about the rapture? Well, it's in there. If Jesus is coming back, where is he now? Well, you just told me to ask him into my heart. So if he's there and I'm here, then who did I ask into my heart? Well, you see, it don't work. I'm like, okay, how can hell be dark and have flames at the same time? Don't ask your pastor those kinds of questions. It just does. Or you get this one. Anybody ever got this one? Just got to have faith. Just got to have faith. All right. It wasn't working for me. And I began to grow frustrated and more frustrated. And so what ended up happening to me and Celia was as we began to grow and began to pursue God more and more, God began to move on us that we need to have a church where you can ask questions. Not only that you can ask questions, but that you should question absolutely everything. We started to believe that God actually loved my friends who were still out partying and drinking and running around and living their lives. Not that they needed to clean up before they came, but that they could come in just as lost in the world and lost in their way as they are, and that they could hang out with us and that we could have discussion and interaction. We thought that you could actually have a church where you didn't have to sell Jesus. We thought that you should have a church that shouldn't be political. I've had people leave this church because I wouldn't talk about politics in election time. It's not my job. It's not my job. Besides, you wouldn't like what I had to say anyway. People only like it when you say what they want you to say. So. I felt like that in our community, that if you liked rock music and you liked it loud, that you were out. As far as church goes, me and Brian were talking about this week. Anybody ever been one of those church CD burnings, tape burnings back in the day? Y'all, nobody? Yeah. The old tape burning? All right. Brian was talking about this. I've heard records. There was this friend of mine, I won't say his name. Y'all probably wouldn't know him anyway, but there was this friend of mine, and he went and gathered for those about the rock albums out of the thing and took them all. While nobody was looking. This is AC/DC, because he just could not imagine somebody burning that. So he went and pulled them all out and hid them. Mom, when we did that, Mom made us get ours. So I went and got my Thriller cassette. A bunch of junk nobody would listen to anyway. There's this one lady where we're talking about when you burn Black Sabbath, it burns and there's black smoke comes up. It's plastic. It's plastic. So we wanted a church, though, where we could express who we are and worship our God, but with the drive and the passion that we worshiped our rock bands. We wanted a church. We wanted we felt like have a church where you didn't have to go buy a suit or at that time, Dockers. Because everybody, in the contemporary churches, you wear Dockers and a golf shirt. And in the traditional church, I passed a guy walking down the side of Highway 19 this morning with a suit and tie, and I'm telling you, a Bible bigger than that monitor. I was like, wow, man, he's suffering for the gospel this morning. 175 degrees outside. Going to church. I wouldn't have had a shirt on. Just carrying my Bible shirt over my back, man. Just it's hot. I wanted to pull over and say, hey, man, you got the Bible on your phone. Lighten it up a little bit. King James and all. I want a church where people could come in dressed. I buy into the belief that God is with me all the time. And so the idea behind dressing up on Sunday versus any other day of the week makes absolutely no sense. Be who you are. I don't think, if you dress up and you like dressing up every day, man, I think you should dress up at church. I sure don't think you should dress down to come to church, because then you're just a conformist. We don't like them. No, I'm just kidding. But mostly out of all of that, those are just tangible things. What I wanted was a church that didn't have a program, didn't have organization, and did whatever it took to capture the presence of God. Because honestly, I feel like the world does everything pretty good. I think worldly movies are spectacular. I think world light shows and sound, and they do an awesome job. And I don't think the church can compete, not with the money we have versus the money they have. But what we should experience here, like if I had Disney's light show and Disney's production, you'd like it for a couple of weeks. But see, the only reason we go to church is because something in us is drawn to the presence of God. Something in us wants to know the manifest presence of God. Something deep inside of us knows that we're flawed. I don't care what kind of religious game you play or how many rules you obey. Something deep inside you knows that you're playing a game, that you're really not as good as you look on the outside. But something in us also knows that no matter how flawed we are, when we come into the presence of God, He consumes us anyway. That He loves us in spite of us. So we started a church, and we didn't have a clue what we were doing. And we said, okay, well, I talked to this guy, and he was helpful. I said, how do you start a church? He said, well, the best place is just start having church. So that was helpful. So we're like, okay, we'll do that. So we had church, and it was weird, awkward, because I'd never been to church at a school, never been to church in a classroom. Just weird. I'd never been to church where you just talk to people. So I don't know how to preach. I'll tell you this, I don't like being not called a preacher. Don't call me a preacher. I'll get funky with you because I don't know how to do that. I was talking to Brian the other day. When people call me pastor, it weirds me out. I feel weird when you say I won't answer you. Like if you're behind me, you say, hey, pastor, I'm not going to answer you. I don't think you're talking to me. I don't consider myself that. I consider myself to be part of the church. I don't know how to do this. 11 years ago, man, we got up and I told everybody, I was kind of given a vision of what it looked like to have church this way. And I told them, I'm like, look, the majority of people at Driven Life, they're going to come in and they'll either be high or just coming down. Most of them are definitely going to be hungover. All right? They're going to be people who are living together. They're going to be people who are just out of prison or on their way. And I had a guy come to me after church and said, I'm not sitting next to a bunch of ex-cons in church. Like, dude, you're not going to like it here at all. So we lost people the first week. I think that was before the first week, wasn't it? It was like maybe a week before the first week. We already lost people. We've had people leaving this church since before we started. It's not for everybody, okay? It is not for everybody. But it is for those of you, man, who feel like there's more. So we started having church. We had people come, and I tell people this, and nobody believes me. People wanted to join the church. I didn't know how to let you join the church. I was like, I always saw it happen, but never really knew how it happened. So like people came and said, I want to join the church. So I called this friend of mine in the church we used to be youth pastors at, and I'm like, hey, people want to join the church. How do we get their letter? And they're like, oh, there is no letter. Like, you're kidding me. 30 years of my life, I sat and heard people, I want to join your church by promise of a letter, and there's no letter. They lied right in front of the church. I promise you a letter that there is no letter. Now, you laugh at me. How many of you guys think you have a church letter? You don't have one. There's no letter. I was shocked. Blown away. So here's what I came to, because I study the Bible. Like, if you want to join the church, be here. It's that hard. I mean, isn't that shocking? That if you want to be part of the church, you should just come here? I'd like to join Driven Life. I've been here about 6 months. I'm like, okay, welcome. Because I don't know. I don't know how that looks. Like, if you want us to charge dues, we can, man. Like, I don't know how that looks. I thought in the Bible, man, that people just gathered together and like they pursued the God and the presence of God, and they served each other. They listened to the apostles' teaching, man. They listened to what they were talking about. They shared their possessions and they shared the things they have, man. And I became so passionate that the church should be so much more than it is. That it should go far away from being an organization and being formal and being structured into a place where it is chaotic by nature, because people are. And the more messed up people you got gathered together, the more messed up the whole organization is. And I love it, because I think it's what Jesus ministry looked like. I really do. I think when Jesus gathered and started talking, that the most jacked up people from the community came because they were the ones who really needed. And I think the religious people and the people who had it all together and the people who knew all the answers to all the questions, they stayed away and shot Facebook posts at him. And 11 years have gone by. And I still don't know what I'm doing. I have questions every day. 2 weeks ago, I sat down in front of our staff and I go, what's the point of church? Well, I mean, have you ever asked that question? I mean, like, what's the point of church? What would possess someone to take a day out of their week to come to a place to dress up and act different? I mean, it's like going to theater or ballet or something, man. You just don't even know how to act. I mean, you don't know how to dress, how to act, what to say, what to do. You know, do you raise your hand to go to the bathroom? I don't know how it works. What makes people do that? But people seem to do it. And so whatever it is that makes people do that, I think we should pursue that more. And what God was showing me was that it's the presence of God. It's the presence of God you want. How many messages have you heard, man? People get up and talk about everything in the world. I mean, I can take any verse in the Bible, give you 3 points, and send you home. You'll pat me on the back at the door and say, good talk. You'll come do that a couple of weeks because we got cool lights. It's not going to keep you. It's not going to impact you in any way. The only thing that impacts people is the presence of God. I'm going to start my message now. No, I'm just kidding. Some guy's panicking, man. Like, oh my God. I was reading. This is my old church starting Bible. In Revelation, book of Revelation, chapter 2, this is Jesus talking to the churches. And there was these 7 churches that he writes these letters to. And he goes through and he tells them what he likes about them and what they need to work on. And he's kind of guiding them and helping them. And since I thought I want to start a church, maybe this is important to me. So I looked at what he told them, and this is something I was reading this week that impacted me. So I really didn't know what to say to you today, but I think this is significant. Jesus said this in Revelation chapter 2, verse 4. He says, I have this complaint against you. You don't love me or each other as you did at first. Look at how far you've fallen from your first love. Turn back again and work as you did at first. Turn back again. And work as you did at first. Look how far you've fallen from your first love, from your passion, from your drive, from that birth that's been put inside of you. And it impacted me because I look at myself, and over 11 years, man, it's been high like you can't believe, but it's been low like you can't comprehend. And the ups and downs and the struggles and the victories and the defeats and all of it, man, it hits you and it impacts you and it changes you and it moves you and you lose sight and you get calloused and you get worn and you get broken and so things go on. And I saw that, what is it? What is the first love? The first love is what happened to me. My first love, and I need you to understand this, my first love isn't people. Okay. My second, third, fourth, fifth, no, I'm just kidding. My first love is that encounter I had with God that I've been pursuing to get back to my whole life. It's what I've wanted since I was 5. I captured it. And from that day, I've worked my life to stay in that place. And when I get away from that place, I want it back so bad. That's my first love. The church was birthed out of that love. But to do church or to have church or to become an organization or anything else is to drift from that first love. See, if we do anything other than try to capture that first love, we've wasted our time. Paul said it like this. He said, you're just a clanging cymbal, a resounding gong. To do anything other than to pursue that first love, to try to find that place. And I know you can look at me because I lead the church and understand, but man, I look at you and I see the same thing. You know how many times in this church I've experienced this scenario? Someone comes into the church, encounters God, and He does for them what He did for me. Then they go home and they get their husband and they're like, you've got to come do this. You've got to come see this. It's the most awesome, incredible, unbelievable, whatever. And the husband was like me, man. He's like, you're never going to shut up. So you go to appease and then kind of go enough off and on to make it. But then not too long later, there's a shift that goes on and it becomes about you not getting what you want or what you like or what you think. Things aren't going like you think they should be going. I don't like the blue lights. I like red lights better. And all they do is turn those blue lights on. I can't stand those blue lights. And so I go home and start griping at my husband about the church, to which we say, yes. I don't think you should ever go back. I'm out and I'm done. I see people come in and they get all changed. They go back on their jobs. And when they go on their jobs, they're on fire and they're being transformed and changed, and they're like telling everybody, man, it's just unbelievable. But sooner or later, they become critical of me or the church, of what we're doing. We're not doing this right or not doing that right, or I said something they didn't like, or I asked a question. I actually had somebody leave here because they said I give them too many questions. Like, that's what I do. I have more questions myself. If I only give you a part of them, like you get a tenth of them. And then they start being critical. I'm not holy. He's not holy enough, not spiritual enough. They don't do this. They don't do it right. They don't do doxology. Whatever. How many of you guys know what doxology is? That's good. And what I think God's saying, man, when we get like that, when we get that spirit, when we get that idea, what about your first love? What's your first love? Have you ever experienced that thing that you will spend the rest of your life getting back to? See, if we focus and if we try to come to that place of like that time where we know God and He knows us, that's called abiding. And when we do that, and we gather together in the pursuit of that, that's called church. It's called the gathering. They call that the church. So the gospel of Jesus is simply about abiding in that first love. It's finding that place where that one thing that matters in life is real, and you know it's real. And you don't want anything else but that God experience. Where are we going in the next 11 years? We're going to abide in that place. It's all I care about. We'll accommodate everything we can. I think you need to grow and learn and be. God gives the gift of teachers and preachers, apostles, prophets, evangelists, these things to the church. There's teaching and there's worship and these things. There's these deals we do. But guys, those aren't the point. The whole thing is about the manifest or the known presence of God. And that's all I want. And I'm not going to scare the hell out of you. And I'm not going to sell Jesus to you. There's plenty of that. I'm going to seek the presence of God. And I'm going to invite you to come along. And that's what we're going to be doing for the next 11 years. If that's okay with you. I want to pray over you guys, and just want to thank you for being part of this. This place means a lot to me. I'm not Driven Life. I'm not the church any more than you're the church. We meet together. We gather together. We experience God together. That's what this church is, and that's what it's about. And I want to thank you for coming on the journey with us. And I thank you for being here and growing with us and allowing me to grow. I'm not there yet. I'm growing up. My wife tells me I need to grow up every day. I'm still growing up. But I am truly grateful for all of you. I'm grateful for the years we've had, and I'm really, really looking forward to what God's going to do here in the years to come. It's the greatest place on earth. I believe that.